Hope you had a good anniversary with your wife.
Oh, thank you. It was wonderful. Yes. Yeah, we had a very good time. Went to as I sent you photos, but went
Yeah,
to a western town.
okay, okay. Let me just wait a minute. See who's at the front.
Yeah.
We'll sleep a week after the event. I'm going to have a holiday, actually.
I would too.
Yeah. I haven't had a holiday for 2 years.
Oh, it's time. You've earned it.
I am going to tell everybody, please do not reach me after this. But 2 weeks, nobody's allowed to reach me. I'm serious. I'm serious. I was just thinking about it just now when we had this break. On the phone, I was have to tell everyone. I'll tell you something, Jim. Since the lockdown, I made one commitment as my contribution to the world, because I saw so much suffering happening in the less developed countries. I have family in Pakistan, in India, in whether Bahrain is considered less developed, but it has problems there. I made a commitment. I did meditation, group meditation online every single day.
Wow, that's that's discipline. Yeah.
Group online on Facebook Live every single day since end April till today.
Wow.
I don't even know how I did it. And I never gave myself a break. But I'll tell you, it's because of that prayer meditation every day together in, they call it corporate prayer, right? That was a thing that gave me strength to get through this year, with all the adversity. It strengthened me every single, when you just, I found I would pray, meditate on my own, but when I did it together in the group, there was so much more power. And whatever problem I faced became lesser. And I had so much more strength in dealing with it. So it's like this grace upon me that was there because I did it every single day in a group with strangers. There was something more powerful. So I attribute the success of this event actually because I know it's God protecting. So far, everything has been smooth. I would say everything yesterday was smooth. Yes, despite
tiring but smooth, huh?
I didn't feel tired.
Oh, good.
No, I didn't feel tired. So
good.
Yeah, it's fine. Everybody, the feedback was so great. I mean, you probably don't know who was watching, but we had a few ministers who were present. They just sent me a message. They said they were, congratulations, you have a great guest of honor. This is the minister.
Oh, what nice.
If you want, I will introduce you to them. They were, because like I said, it's not normal for a Singapore company to have a guest of honor that's not from Singapore. It's not the normal procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was always told for many months, you must only get a Singaporean. So, but like I said, we broke those barriers, those boundaries. And they messaged me saying it was great and they congratulated the people involved, the people, the way it was structured. And yes, and I think we did things out of the box. We did an online inauguration. We did an online awards. So we've got some people coming in. Moses from, where are you from, Moses? Kent? Africa. Roshani from India is here. Singapore fell in love with Jim. Oh, is that so? Rob is here. Hi, Tahira, by the way, spelling. Moses is from Botswana. Right.
Garabon, Botswana.
Botswana.
Yep.
Yes. Hi, Wai Ching. She's in Malaysia.
Wai Ching. Yep. Hello.
Okay.
Wai Ching, thank you for those nice comments yesterday.
Okay.
Andrew.
And Andrew, of course. Tahira, group meditation was regulating the energy of others around the world so we can all become one. The phrase comes to mind, the unforced rhythm of grace. That's a good one.
Excellent.
Yes.
Carrie and Roshani and Rob is here. Hey, Rob. Rob did a great job yesterday. I love Rob's energy.
It was fun, energizing.
Toast him with coffee.
Yeah, I've got hot water here.
Very good. Here, cheers.
Cheers. Yes, we finished you almost finished the second day.
Yeah.
We almost finished second day. Tomorrow is going to be the participants for them to showcase. They're going to be the stars tomorrow. They have slots of 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you guys, and of course, Jim, you should be welcome to watch them. They have, if you can't make the slots, there'll be pre-recordings. The pre-recordings then be different times, US time also. So we will start you want to start in a minute? Okay. So let's start. Let's begin. All right. So we begin with our introduction. At least we know, the audience know who we are in a couple of minutes. And why don't you start?
Okay. Well, good morning, world. I'm Jim Cathcart. I'm here with Tahira, and we are excited about this second day. This has been an event that has broken new ground, and we can feel the importance of that. It's not something where you just intellectually know it. There's more going on here than that. When an event is organized around an idea as powerful as truth and integrity, it tends to attract a special type of audience.
Yes.
And that's really key, because, if we were standing in a public square just talking about these ideas, it would be very different. But we have announced this many months in advance. It's built a momentum over time, and people have gathered to connect with each other in the context of this. It's like in the Bible, there is a passage that says, wheresoever two or more are gathered in my name, there am I also. Well, that's true not only in a religious sense, but in a I guess a scientific or secular sense. Wherever two people get together for one single purpose, the power of each is multiplied. And there's another dimension to that. If you look at an organization, I'm a past president of a group called the National Speakers Association, which is a group of authors and speakers from mostly America. And then there's a global organization around the world. And Rob, for example, belongs to the Australia Speakers Association. But when I was president, I would talk to people and they would say, well, NSA does this and NSA does that. I'd say, excuse me. NSA, the National Speakers Association, only exists in this dynamic between the two of us. Mm-hmm. If you go to the headquarters building in Arizona, you won't find NSA. You will find the people that work for us, our staff. Mm. If you go to our board meetings, you won't find NSA a thing. You will find a group of fellow volunteers like you and me who have committed to do more work than other people do for that year and not be paid for it. The NSA, the National Speakers Association, only exists in the dynamic between the people who are doing the work of the National Speakers Association. Now take that to the Truth and Integrity Awards.
Mm.
This organization exists in this dynamic, in this moment, in this context where we've chosen voluntarily to connect with each other and to talk about powerful ideas, big, important issues that transcend all the silliness and all the meanness of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very, very important concept. So when someone says, well, the Truth and the Integrity Awards don't do this or do that or whatever. No, there is no Truth and Integrity Awards as a separate thing. It is only this shared, it's like love. It's a shared experience. And once you get that concept, a whole lot of other things start making sense better.
Yes. Okay. But you didn't really introduce yourself.
Well, okay, hi, I'm Jim.
You're okay,
well,
great. Rob said such great things about you, so you felt like I don't really need to say anything else. Okay, all right.
Yeah. What Rob was saying yesterday was all of the spray paint on the surface of me, all of the things I've done since I became a grown up, and that's fine, and that makes me bright and shiny. But what makes me who I am comes from my early years as well. I was born in the southern part of the United States in Arkansas, in the town of Little Rock. That's the capital city of the state of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And my father was a telephone repairman, and my mother was a housewife. And my grandfather had a stroke and was completely disabled for the last 7 years of his life. Couldn't move, couldn't talk.
Okay.
And so he was in our front bedroom with my grandmother and my mother caring for him. And I grew up expecting a very unremarkable life. And one day in 1972, when I was a young adult, newly married, I heard an inspiring message on the radio and took that to heart and started applying that message in my own life and built a library of all the great books in the field of personal development. And the recordings up on the top shelf behind me are recordings from Earl Nightingale, my chosen mentor, who I listened to for hundreds, if not a few thousand hours on audio recordings. And that helped me reorganize my belief system about how the world works and what my place is within it. And I became a fanatical, and I mean that intentionally, a fanatical student of the field of personal development, applied behavioral science, for a period of at least 5 years. Every single day I was reading, listening, talking with others, setting goals, doing all kinds of self-exploration and exploration of what makes people who and what they are. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I evolved over time, from being a clerk in a government agency to being a trainer teaching other people's courses, to being a researcher, an author, the owner of a psychological research firm, and today a speaker and author, traveling the world and delivering talks like this one to powerful audiences.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jim. So I come from a totally different background, but not completely. We're both authors. Mm-hmm. I am the same age as your son, and my mother's the same age as you. And my mother and I are best friends, as I shared with you.
I love that.
My father and I were also best friends. I have a beautiful relationship with my parents. It is my greatest gift. The greatest gift from God. The greatest gift from God.
It truly is a gift.
Yes.
When you think of how few people in the world have that experience with their own family, wow.
Yeah, I mean, just telling you that when I messaged you earlier that me and my mom are best friends, I just brought tears to my eyes because it's such a great thing. And so I'm truly blessed with the relationship with my parents, and they have shaped me for what I am today. My father, origins from Afghanistan. My grandfather was a freedom fighter, a businessman, carpet trader.
Carpet
trader from Kabul, was the first Afghan to come to Singapore. The first. He is in the history books. To buy that history book is very expensive. It's about $100. With a few copies. It's called The Forgotten Warriors. So my grandfather's in the history books as, businessman, freedom fighter. He was also vice president of INA. Activist. Activism is there in the blood.
Yeah.
And my uncles also. So my father was a very astute businessman, but he loved the medical field and science. So he spent his time in the shop selling carpets while reading all scientific, historic, books like you have at the back. Same, piles of books, piles. He would read dictionaries. You open up a dictionary, there's no word he doesn't know. My father was like that. Absolutely. And when you said, I think what Rob was saying that you do 100 push-ups a day, my father was like that. At 75, he used to do 100 push-ups a day. All the way at 79, he did 100 push-ups a day, marathon runner. So my father are both athletes, runners. I picked that up from him. The athletic side, I used to be a runner. And my mother was a literary person. She was one of the few masters of literature at her time in Pakistan. Very few women actually do their master's level at that time. She's 73. So she was a very literary person, and she was a famous playwright in Pakistan. She is a famous playwright.
Yeah.
Yes. So the activism and the literary and the business
and the discipline
and the business,
and
the discipline, they homeschool us. And of course, we went to school, the good schools, but they also homeschooled us. My parents homeschooled me. My mother, we would have like a classroom in the house, and my father would come back from work, and he would make sure that I read something new, and then he would quiz me on it. So our knowledge became very vast.
I love that.
Yes, he did that. And then he trained us business from the age of 7. I used to go to the carpet shop, and I met some of the famous actors who used to come from the US. Jack Lord, I remember him for Hawaii Five-O.
Yeah.
I remember meeting him. I was a little child. He was 11 years old. I was starstruck because I was starstruck, and then a couple of famous actors, and they were sitting, on the carpets and just watching. They were a little kid. And then I started my career at selling carpets, Persian carpets. So I was, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, after school or in the weekends, in the weekends, break time, selling carpets, whenever free. So that's why that was ingrained. It was, I would say, everything that I'm today is my parents.
It makes me want to do what you did. As you describe it, I think, wow, I wish we had learned in my home. In my home, I was not encouraged I was not discouraged from study, but I was not encouraged. Reading was something you did for amusement or for school. That was it. Business was not something we discussed at home. And hard work, learning to use tools, working with my hands, hunting, fishing, things like that. My father taught me. I joined the Army National Guard because he had been in the Army and had a full career in the Army. And so, I did that and became a junior officer. And then I said, not for me. And I got out of that. But what a rich, exciting background you have. Wow.
The reason why they did that is because of our origins. Women have always been suppressed in a culture.
Yeah.
He wanted the reverse. He said to me, you're not getting married before you're 30 because you got to know who you are first.
Yeah.
That's why he said to me, because it was so extreme from where we came from. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, if your ankle is shown, you get whipped. If your ankle is shown, you get whipped. Yeah. So that was how it was. So that is like the reverse. And he always encouraged us to do the ultimate, to go beyond ourselves. He always say that. And his statement would be, God sent revelation to everyone. That's what he felt. He felt that. He felt that it comes to everyone. And he'd always say to me, don't you ever classify a person by race and categories. And when I was writing my book, he tried to make sure that I didn't particularly put anybody in particular race. So, so it was teaching us to think out of the box.
Oh.
To always be, not to look at labels.
Yeah, what a blessing to have a guide, a mentor, a loving, caring, strong guide like that.
Yes. And if you go back to the topic, determining what is truth, for me, it is like all this helps me, gives me a foundation to determine what is truth, because I'm being taught to not focus on the labels, to not be indoctrinated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel that it is, to determine what is truth is not something you just think about as psychological. For me, I feel it's something which is a journey. It's
Absolutely.
a journey of transformation and change.
Yeah.
That you need to go through. My background is scientific. I did my degree in mathematics. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so my book, Through the Golden Door, is a deeply scientific and spiritual in terms of supernatural. And so it's spiritual and scientific. So I look at things in a very spiritual and scientific way. So when you give the example about coming together in a group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like-minded, they're tracking the right people. I would say vibrational frequencies. My frequency is this way, and then I would track people of similar frequency because of the match. And that, if you look at it from a science point of view, it all comes together actually.
Yeah.
There's always some justification, but some things which are not justified reveals to us later on. So I tend to look at things that way, and so there is some overlap between us. I see that you're a very disciplined person, I think,
but I had to learn to be. I certainly didn't start out that way. I had almost no discipline at the beginning. I acquired it over time by choice.
You already have it. See, in fact, to do that is even harder. Because, for us it was easier because we were taught, but to become on your own is harder.
And to discover how you've been indoctrinated. We've all been indoctrinated because of the limited sources that we are able to be exposed to.
Yes.
So our worldview is a worldview that was given to us when we become adults or young adults. And up to that point, though we think we're absolutely right, especially when we're in our late teens, being absolutely right is based on such a limited base of input that there's no way you could be that enlightened at that age. And so I came to discover how limited my worldview had been, and I started expanding the number of sources I was listening to and seeking information, seeking truth from. And I was regularly just like, if I was driving in my car, I'd pull over to the side of the road and stop and listen to a message a second time on a recording on a little cassette in my car back in the day, and think about that and write down my ideas on it. And just, I went through a period of several years of truly evolving from the person I had been into the person I was choosing to become. But I'm not done. There wasn't a stopping point. It's like you said, it's a journey.
Yes,
You know, discovery and learning and truth it's not like truth is a thing. You pick it up and there it is.
no.
The truth is a light shining on a moving object in a fleeting moment. I'd never thought of that metaphor before, but maybe that works.
Yeah, that works also. I would also see truth. Maybe I won't look at it that way. I would say that if you're going to look at the title, tell me what is truth. I would say it's like going. You're at the beach, all right? You're at the beach. You're at the shore, and there's the ocean. Determining what is truth is actually willing to go into the ocean, and to go into it, and coming out of your comfort zone, not knowing where you're going, not knowing what is going to reveal to you, and what it's going to be like.
And releasing yourself to the power of the waves momentarily.
Yes, that's right.
Allowing the ocean to move you, you know, I mean, not giving over all control, but allowing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surrender, because
surrender. That's a good way to put it.
Our conscious mind and then have fixed thinking. And one of the things which I learned, this was Authentic Business. The group just came back from the Authentic Business workshop. And one of the things I learned from them was the three thinking, which is self-awareness, group awareness, and systemic awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is when it's normally at the early phase of our evolution, where we know ourselves and we also have our self-belief. And we tend to be very passionate about our self-belief. Yeah. And then we stay there.
We think we're correct.
And many of us just stay there. Most of the population of the earth stays over there, maybe 70%, 80%, just making a rough guess.
Yeah.
Then very few go into group awareness. That means they start willing to question. They're willing to go into the ocean, determine what is truth. That is group awareness. They will question, they will look at the whole, let's say, the global mind. There's so many words. Yeah. It's called global mind, the consciousness. They look at what's happening, discovery, God, all this together. And then the systemic awareness is when you reach a point that everything you do is for a greater scale, the planet. I'm here for this big, whatever I'm doing is for that. So that's one thing I learned. And determining what is truth. So when you go deep into that ocean, how deep you're willing to go. When you go really deep into the ocean, it is dark, there's less oxygen. There is so much uncertainty. You don't know what kind of creatures there are in there. There's very low pressure. So it's a painful journey. It's a painful journey, and it is unknown.
Yeah.
So whether
you have to be willing to be embarrassed, to feel inadequate or afraid or whatever, knowing that it's not a state of being, a new state of being. It's a momentary situation. I put myself into situations that are bigger than me intentionally, so that I am forced to retain some humility and learn and grow, and not be the big deal. I've been fortunate. I've been blessed, way more than fortunate, in my life to choose this career as a teacher and trainer and speaker and author. And I chose it at the time when the human potential movement, when it was growing in momentum, in the late 60s, 70s, 80s. And that's when I got involved in this field. And luckily, it was like I decided to become a surfer on the day when the waves started getting bigger. And so as I got into this, I was able to meet all of the big names of the day, the major thinkers, and to be around them. and my own career advanced. But, you know, you get to a point in a successful career, the world starts reacting to you differently. And they say, oh, teacher, you know, you go first. And no, you know, everybody defers to you, and they say yes when they don't agree to you, with you. Really don't like that, because I'm not getting the truth. You know, I'm being treated as if I'm somehow above others. And so I decided several years ago that I was going to play guitar and sing in clubs. And when I would go to a club to audition, it was just me and a guitar. There were no books, there were no credentials, there was no, oh my God, oh, you're Jim Cathcart, wow. No, it was just, okay, what's your name? Jim. Okay, you're number 3, sit down over there. And so I would go and I would sit, and then it would be my time, and I would get up and I'd play my guitar and sing, and I would either get the job or not get the job. And the job paid very little, you know, about the cost of a nice dinner for 2. But I wasn't there for the job. I was there for the experience. I was there because I loved music and loved interacting with the audience. And I didn't mind not being the big deal guy. And I think that's helped me a lot. It's just, you know, an exercise in self-imposed humility.
Humility. Is that what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ego is going to prevent us from even, you know, exploring that topic. Humility and willing to go through that journey. And that's what you're explaining. You went through a journey and you were willing to humble yourself. How many of us are willing to do that? That's not that many, right? And
right.
Yeah. So determining what is truth. What are your ideas besides the journey? I'd like to hear from you also. What are your ideas besides? And you think it is mainly a journey, right? That's what I feel. Because for me, it was you know, shedding of layers of myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, it was a discovery of new things that I had never known about. You know, whereas you were being taught, I was pretty much just left on my own when it came to things like we're talking about. When it came to practical things, I had a lot of guidance, and that was good. But when it came to conceptual things and strategies and, you know, decision-making processes and learning models, meaning methods for doing important life functions, I had no consciousness of that. So that was all a new discovery, a new journey for me. And I listened for many, many, many days on end over a few years to recordings that I was mentioning earlier. Let me show you one. From Earl Nightingale. He had a series of recordings in little, looks like leather, it's a vinyl, looks like a book, but it's an audio cassette with the text of the cassette over here. And I would listen to these again and again and again. Now, I didn't listen to it so I could memorize it. I listened to it so it would help change my mindset. I needed someone's guidance in my ear again and again and again, because each time I'd hear it, I'd think a different thought or get a different take on the concepts. And I was kind of like breaking my own shell and getting outside into the scary outer world, but getting out there with the confidence that I would be okay, knowing it might be painful, it might terrify me from time to time, but I would ultimately be okay. And I think that, which is a really important foundational element, comes from a belief in the existence of a loving creator. I wrote a blog post recently on Facebook. I said, you know, people say the biggest problem in the world is either COVID or it's war or it's racism or hatred or it's, whatever it happens to be. I think the biggest problem in the world is the lack of a belief in the existence of a loving creator.
Yeah.
I don't care which religion you choose, as long as you believe that there is a creative force, a creator, not a person, but a force that is the source of life. Mm-hmm. And that source, the essence of that source is what we call love. Although our perspective as humans, I think, is very, very limited on what the reality is that's there. If you believe that that exists, then your life matters. Then the fact that you live, that you were created, makes a difference because you've got an opportunity and an obligation. And I believe that my opportunity is to live a joyful and meaningful life, to make a difference. And my obligation is to make the world better because I existed. And I went through a very in-depth, I've done this many times with different people over the years, but a man named Tom Vokola took me through a very in-depth interview process over a couple of days where he had me verbalize almost every memory that I could retrieve, from the earliest youth all the way to present day. And he put it all on flip chart pages. And then he went back and circled it and identified patterns and principles that drove the patterns. Because, if you want to learn something, you learn first the techniques. Well, if you learn the techniques only, that's all you'll ever be able to do. But if you learn the patterns in the techniques, you can develop new techniques. And if you learn the principles that drive the patterns, you can transform things. Yeah. So at the end of this 2-day experience, 2.5 days with Tom, he said, okay, we're going to come up with a purpose statement, Jim, that you can carry with you and use it to keep yourself focused on the purpose of your life. And I said, I love it. Let's go. And here's what we came up with. This is a little laminated card that he sent to me that has a capsule of all those pages of flip chart and what we talked about. Mm-hmm. It's my passion and purpose statement. And it says, that my passion and my purpose is to allow the fulfillment of life through me. Mm-hmm. There's a line in the Bible that's attributed to Jesus that says, I have come that they would have life and have it more abundantly. That's John 10:10. Mm-hmm. And that's what I believe my purpose is, to live abundantly and to show other people, help other people to live more abundantly. Mm-hmm. And religion, once again, is not an important element in this. Religion's important to individuals, but it's the concept within this philosophical construct that we call religion that matters the most. The purpose of life is life, to live, to flourish, whether it's a single-celled amoeba or a multifaceted human. The purpose of that life entity is to live fully. Even a virus, its purpose is to live fully, okay? Although it can harm other entities. So if my life purpose is to live fully, how do I do that? Well, I do it, and these comments will have more meaning to me than they will to those we're talking with. But it says through intelligent observation, and that's a commitment I've made to myself to do, become an intelligent observer. Vocal appreciation. In other words, I've intentionally become a person who notices good things about others and points it out. Like yesterday, my wife and I were driving into a little country picnic party area in Texas where they have musical performances. And it's a place called Lukenbach, Texas, that was made famous in a song. And we went there, and as we're driving through the parking lot, we noticed a woman that had long, silver hair, and it was very well groomed. And we commented how beautiful her hair was. And then we parked our car and we went on into this picnic area, and we were standing there enjoying the band. And I noticed the woman walking by, and I said, "Excuse me, my wife and I were just commenting how beautiful your hair is." And you should have seen the light come into that woman's face. She just stood taller and beamed. So vocal appreciation. I don't believe it's enough to just appreciate. I think we should let it be known.
Yes.
And full self-expression. I believe that the best way I can live abundantly is find the various forms of self-expression, whether it's speaking, writing, playing guitar and singing, or whatever it happens to be that's unique to you. And let life flow through you, because then you can make life better for other people.
Yes, yes. You know, a lot of comments here about love. I can see that. I'll share something with you. When I did the Andrew and Israel, I believe, on the chat, I did the Authentic Business Discover Your Life Purpose, purpose words, the 2 words. Okay, and mine surprised me. You would think that my 2 words would have the word truth there, or something, a truth seeker, or something like that. You would think that.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. It really surprised me when I shared my happy stories and determined the 2 words. It was radiating love.
Ooh.
I was surprised that my 2 words, the purpose words, was radiating love. And then I came about the statement. It says, truth is never fully true unless it is full of love. It's never really true.
Yeah.
Truth is never fully true unless it is full of love. And what is love? God is love. Let's remove the constructs of religion. The reason why the world is in chaos is because of, well, you know what it is. It's so many things, agendas and self, all those things. But it's not full of love. And God is love. And God is love. And God carries and releases messages of truth to us.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's very powerful, what you're saying.
Yeah.
And many people think that factual data is truth. And I think that's a very trivial interpretation of what truth is. It's much, much greater than that. And the whole point of the truth and integrity movement is to transcend that pedestrian level view and to have a more conceptual and spiritual and deeply personal understanding of what genuinely is true.
That's what I
love the fact that you've incorporated love into that as an integral piece.
Yes, yes. And I believe that, yes, Andrew just said here, perfect love casts out fear, all fear. Yes, and when there is fear, there will be untruth and misinformation. Because there's a need to protect and there's a need to deceive. There's need self-protect and deceive because of fear of losing, fear of, a lot of things in the world is driven by fear. That need to protect self. And misinformation, I think, is created by that fear, by certain groups of people who want to protect themselves, who are fearful of other groups. I mean, this is group dynamics, and this is what I see, that goes down to this. So I know it sounds a bit deep, but it's going beyond it's going within the layers. It's not like, just a quantifiable that whether it's a lie or a truth. It's not about that. But
Yeah.
I think we need to go beyond that when it's about us embodying something that will elevate us. And when we are elevated, we are able to see who we are and understand things a lot better. And that is truth. That is truth. Who we are, the real versions of ourselves, the true versions of ourselves is an element of truth. So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts? Maybe we can bring someone from the audience. Do you want to share?
Yeah, there's a question or a comment from Moses. Says, expand more on facts and data are not truth. Facts and data are truth, but in a trivial sense, meaning truth, as we're addressing here, is great reality, great wisdom, great, transcendent facts and data. Whereas, well, let me put it in a different context. There are three levels of thinking generally. There is operational or functional thinking. There is strategic or tactical thinking, and there's conceptual thinking. Operational or functional thinking is looking at something and saying, what you see is what you get. This is a pen. It clicks. It's a blue-gray in color with silver. It's a pen. Okay, that's operational thinking. And you can say, tell me more about that. And the operational thinker will say, well, it has little hearts in the design. It clicks. It has blue ink. Okay, fine. But they haven't told you anything that's not just hard data, just inflexible, current moment reality. If you think at a little bit higher level, tactical level, how could you use this? Well, you could use it for writing. You could use it for marking. You could use it to gain attention. You could use it as business jewelry. You could use it in ways like that. Then they say, what about beyond tactical, strategic? Because tactical is, how do I apply this? Strategic is, what's the best way to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So I could use this to prop open a window. I could use this to scratch my ear, but it's better if I use this for writing. Okay. And I could, by the way, I could do different things with this and find different tools of that type. Conceptual thinking, you look at this and you say, wow, this is evidence of humankind's ability to transcend space and time by taking elements that never looked like this in the first place, combining them in ways that create tubes, ink, roller balls, springs, etc., and then combining that with language and symbols and allowing people to write a message today and have it be read and understood 1,000 years from now. That is power. So that's conceptual, strategic, tactical, operational, and functional. When we first go through life, we're doing it at the operational and functional level. We learn to put our clothes on, to brush our teeth, to eat, to keep ourselves safe. And then, like you with your wonderful family, we get guidance from others that open up whole new vistas for us. And we develop the discipline to apply what we know in tactical ways, and then to be more strategic about our choices, and then ultimately to discover concepts that allow us to evolve to a whole new level of existence.
That's absolutely right. Yes. And that's what you're saying is valuing creation. The example of the pen, you go right down to the basics, valuing creation. Yes. I want to call in Andrew. Andrew, can you send a request? Andrew Chua is from Authentic Business, and we were discussing this. Let's get the audience involved a little bit. Where is he? Because when I had a last discussion with him, because I was wondering about my core purpose, and then he said truth and love also. He said comes together. Where is he? Where is Andrew? Where is Andrew? Andrew, you need to
I
send
see
me.
it. Let's see. I'm going to
It's
click
good to
on
be
Andrew.
the audience.
Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
You got to be the audience has to get involved. Now, you know, in the last sentence, the that time we had a discussion, you were saying truth and love. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay. And I told you, you know, that my core purpose was radiating love, and I was figuring out what is this? What was the connection? What I'm doing? Then I understood. What are your thoughts?
Oh, they're lenses, aren't we? So truth is, you can speak truth to someone with love, or you can speak truth to someone with hate. And, you know, objectively, it might be the same thing. You might speak to someone who has stolen money from you, and you say, give that back to me. Or you could say to them, bless you. I know you have a need. I have plenty. Why don't you take some of that? Both are truthful statements in the sense that they're about an objective thing that actually happened. But one is redemptive and the other is destructive. And that's a choice we all have to make. It's not about what you see, it's how you choose to see it and then how you choose to live it. So I don't know whether that makes sense.
No, it does.
That does make sense. I was just thinking, though, you know, if a person steals something from you and they're not stealing out of need, they're stealing out of greed, you know, stealing out of meanness and a fear in their heart. The two ways to respond to it, using that illustration, you know, one would be an angry way. The other would be a loving way. And it might be a loving way would be, excuse me, you have more power than me, and certainly you can keep what you've taken. But I'd like you to be aware of something. By taking that, you've removed my ability to do this, this, and this. And these are the things that will happen. So if you choose to exert your power in this way, go right ahead. Just know that you've done significant harm. And it might cause them to pause just long enough to let go of whatever they took and to go on their way.
No, that's
just reframing the conversation,
yeah.
You know, without giving up and just saying, all right, take it. You probably need it more than me.
Yes. No, I completely resonates. And there are many ways of bringing about that. But the common point is this: we're looking for that moment of self-realization in the other.
Yeah.
It's not about,
and that's hard to facilitate in someone else.
So it's that the point is, what in this situation, what will best serve that other person to discover the truth that is within them. And it comes from a place where you believe with all your heart, and I know you do, Jim, that there's a light within every human being.
Yes.
And that light sometimes gets very, very, very hidden away. Shadows come over it. Sometimes through that person's deliberate choices, but more often because others have dimmed that light through what they've done to the other person. And our role as human beings is to bring the light back out, not to allow that to be extinguished, to find whatever flame there's there in that person and to fan it back to life. And you did it so beautifully yesterday with the story of the beggar and the musician, all that. What you were doing is that you were just coming alongside them, treating them like a human being and affirming their humanity. And by doing that,
they're
changed something.
Total equality with me.
Yeah.
You know, that there was no hierarchy whatsoever.
Yeah.
I wish I could just spontaneously do this song. I'm not able to play it because I don't remember it well enough. But there was a song years ago that I used in some of my presentations, and I played a recording, and it was called, I don't remember what it was called, but here's the opening line. I believe there's a light that shines in everyone. I believe it's the light of the world. I believe there's a voice that whispers there's a choice, and our joy will come from choosing what is right and always seeking his light. That gives me goosebumps just
It gives me
remembering.
goosebumps too. I don't know.
His light, always seeking his light, and his light is what? Full of love.
Yeah.
So we are truthful.
And by the way, light exposes truth. Darkness just, hides it. But light is an excellent part of this metaphor.
It's beautiful. Well, here's a really funny thought that came to me just a couple of weeks ago. I was thinking about light and darkness, and we're moving into a time when darkness is getting, it's growing in many parts of the world. So I thought about it for a while, and I realized that, darkness doesn't like the light, but the only thing it can do is to get darker. But the darker it gets, the light gets brighter without having to do anything. So the
That's
more
true. If it's pitch dark, a tiny little light will shine like a beacon.
Exactly. So the kind of darkness in the end destroys itself, because the darker it gets, the brighter the light becomes without the light having to do anything, which I just thought was really funny. And I think that's that may be how it will play out on our planet. So.
Thank you for that, by the way. That gives me hope. Gives me more hope.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to bring one more person. Where's Joanne? She's been saying a lot of things. Where's Joanne? All right. Oh, there she is. Where are you now?
She's there. She is.
Hello.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello.
So are you loving the truth and love conversation? Okay.
Oh, look, and we've got intention busy running its way through the side conversation and the whole thing. And sorry, I'm just going to go and add a bit more light on my face, seeing as we're having a conversation about light.
Yeah.
And we're going to thus do light, hopefully in 2 dimensions. Let there be light.
Better, please.
This is where technology is just going to be laughed with and thoroughly appreciated. And the toy factor of the fact that you could press one button and brighten things up. Look, here we go. Let there be light. Let there be dark.
Nice.
Let there be light.
Add a little volume to your audio as well.
Yeah, a bit soft.
I have to go find that headset thing again.
There you go.
She's there. She always does this. The last word is the same thing. Don't leave the camera.
Can you see the computer there? I was very calmly relaxing on the chaise lounge, listening to.
I called you. And I called you. Too bad.
And you called me, which meant I have to wake up the big computer. Yeah, Claire, you're right. This is my 7th day.
You're just casually.
So if we're really lucky, we'll find the correct place to add clarity and volume, otherwise known as a microphone. Is that better?
Yes, that's fine. Much better.
Awesome. There we go.
So you were typing a lot of things. So do share your thoughts. You were saying a few things. I saw that. So
here's another to this part of the earlier conversations have been about the different perspectives. And I've done a lot of work over the years in organizational change and had some very deep conversations that one could even consider them possibly arguments, depending on the volume that you feel moves from discussion to argument.
Yes.
With some of the senior professors at HEC and Harvard, who are all advocating this space of, no, what you're doing is influence. And if we're talking about truth creation, part of what we're doing is putting out a perspective in the world. And I'm going, well, if what we're doing is in an aligned agenda with the other people who we're attempting to change, they may perceive it as influence. But if it's not in their aligned interests, they may see exactly the same thing as manipulation or deception. Mm-hmm. And just because I feel that I'm coming from purity of purpose, of course, for the goodness and betterment of the group that I feel I'm representing, doesn't have any reason for the other party to feel or believe that is so.
Right.
And for me, in the question of, as Jim has been talking about, when I take that and put that into living practice, it's pushed me to think far more deeply about the consequences to who many others might be on what it is, and actually starting to talk about it explicitly instead of, oh, well, this is for your own good. Remember being told to eat your greens? Mm-hmm. Or in organizations, well, we must make this cut because it will allow, frankly, our shareholders to make more money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or a subliminal one, good on you, Carrie. I actually like greens now. I was not very greeny when I was a kid, but I really enjoy my greens now. Maybe it's an age thing. And so, like, I've been involved in some discussions the last few years where we've been talking about equity and integrity in business around a very, very topical and contentious space. And seeing as we've got a nice visual dimension on my screen of 2 guys, 2 girls, and all that one. So we're doing good on equity, gender equity here. And then I've gone and asked organizations, and I've said, okay, so show me your pay distributions. What's the mean and the average pay for men, and what's the mean and average pay for women, and break it up by rank. And they just look at me appalled. And I'm going, well, if you don't have actual pay equity, you really don't have equity, because you're basically saying we're undervaluing the contribution of one community in the interest of being able to extract value and give it to another section of the community. So, for example, just to use this one, we're going to say we're not going to value women as equally to men so that we can pay shareholders more money. So that's the maths. Mm-hmm. And I've had some people look at me and they're going to, FPA, comments earlier on. Sometimes the truth can come from love and still be very harsh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
the truth.
It's a truth.
Doesn't change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I found is if I'm wishy-washy over it, it just gets swept aside, and it's like that. It's only when I have the courage to show up and put one was go, Joanne, you're meant to be sweet and nice. I am. I can be sweet and nice. But if we're talking about equity and the meaning of equity, then how far are we going to take this word before we're going to say it's too difficult, too uncomfortable, and let's just run away and put lipstick on it?
I've seen your tough love.
And we're still friends.
I've seen that. Okay, so all right. Yeah. It's love.
Many times when I'm coaching speakers, if I have a speaker who is a particularly nice person, someone who's very courteous, and they say, oh, I don't know if this is going to be the best idea for you, but I think that, and they couch everything in that padding before they deliver the message. I tell them, look, you need to stop doing that. And they say, well, I'm afraid that I'll come across as mean and blunt. And I said, you need to remember your essence is soft and loving. If your essence is soft and loving, you can state things in ways that you think are blunt and rude, and other people will think, wasn't that sweet? Oh, now I get it. In other words, don't be so concerned about not making any waves, because sometimes waves are needed. Just make sure you're coming from a position of love and encouragement inside.
Yeah.
Years ago, I was with a speech coach from South Africa, a man named Ron Arden. And he had me go through a series of sessions over many weeks. And one day I went into his office and he said, okay, tell me the story you were going to be presenting next week. And I told him the story. And in the early part of my telling, he said, stop it. I said, stop what? He said, stop being the clever young reporter who's saying everything as if you were a newscaster who had been handed a script. If you know it to be true, stand and deliver. Speak with conviction. I said, but Ron, I don't want to come across. He said, excuse me. And then he reminded me that I had the credentials, I had the experience, I had the knowledge and the gravitas to speak with power, but I was not doing it. And if I was going to influence people, as Joanne was saying, if I was going to, in a positive way, influence other people, I needed to speak speak the truth boldly and be confident in it, just not mean-spirited about it. And that was a shifting point for me that day.
It's a huge shift. And given that we've got you and Andrew here, I'd love to put a conversational angle in this one around truth, is that I come from a culture where men are taught to be very tough, and they're pretty much taught from about the tiniest of sizes, they're not meant to have emotions, which I actually think must be an incredibly heavy burden to bear.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels to me we're entering an age where we have robots who actually, if anyone's read Isaac Asimov, there's a whole other story that could go into that one. But we're entering an age where showing up as humanity, which includes our logic, our creativity, our power, our sensitivity, our emotions, become a very, very key thing. And both of you who've traveled a path of being able to be very comfortable and present and sharing of your heart and your emotions with other people in a way that is not traditionally true of the cultures that you both grew up in. And I would love to hear something about your wisdom in that, because many women face this too, as we've gone into a corporate world where we're pretty much told, delete emotion, show up as robot. In that, and so both of you have traveled a journey that's allowed you to show up in this way, and I'd love to hear what's helped you in that, because it's a deeper truth for all of us.
Yeah, Andrew, why don't you take the lead?
I haven't always been like this. When I was 13, I had a terrible accident when my gerbil ran away, and I killed it by accident by trying to trap it. I cried, and after that I stopped crying for about 6 or 7 years. Because it was a shock of something that happened. So so it was something that then I bottled everything up, and I felt more and more isolated as a teenager growing up. And then I think over time, what I then began to realize was that actually, if you're not able to express your emotion, you just get trapped. You're trapped in a place where you think you are isolated and alone, and you can't really connect with others. Much later on in life, I've learned in my practice at work is that if I'm working with clients, unless I can get them into the emotional space, they're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I always start with the IQ bit. I start with the knowledge. Did you know that the brain processes 14 million pieces of information, blah, 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 blah. But then I need to come to a place where I tell them a story about perhaps my gerbil, or a story about something else that gets them to a point when it touches part of their brain, which is to do with their emotional space. And when they get to that point, they're given permission to feel, and then given permission to therefore change. There's no change without emotions. You just can't.
Right.
So it's such a necessary part. And as a man, it's also, I agree with you. I think it's changing, actually. I look at my children, they're growing up. I think they're a lot more able to express their emotions. Well, it seems that way in my family. And then perhaps in our generation, it's a bit less. But that's my 2 cents.
Good.
You're absolutely right, Joanne. These two are unusual. I mean, it's not true.
Mutants.
No, it's true. It's unusual. I'm not unusual in a bad way. It's a good thing, because not many men can express themselves, and they suffer. I have seen so many men who suffer, and they will never. They will not discuss anything. They will not talk, but they're suffering inside. They don't express their emotions, and that breaks the communication. Too many like this, and that is truth. I mean, this is the problem. Now it's time to return to humanity. What is humanity? It's feeling, love, emotion. That is humanity. So the robot, and amongst men, forcing themselves to think that they should be a robot. In India, it's such a huge problem. From a child, a boy is not supposed to have emotions. He's supposed to be strong. And the girl can cry, but the boy can't. And then they end up being wife beaters when they grow up. It's because they can't express their emotion. They express it through teaching.
I think one of the best authors on this is Warren Farrell. Warren Farrell wrote, gosh, I'm trying to think. He's got so many books, but they're all about male and female issues. He used to serve on the National Organization of Women's Board of Directors, but then he's separated from that group because it became evidently a bit more political than he was willing to go. But it's why men are what they are, basically, and what does that mean in a context of a two-gendered world? And I really admire Warren Farrell. But let me get back to something that Andrew stimulated. I also work with people where I need to guide them through that same journey. And I had an experience a few years ago. I was leading a board of directors of a group of optometrists through a strategic planning process. There were 19 people in the room, and they had told me, we want you to guide us through a strategic planning, mission, vision, values, purpose, roles, responsibilities, timeline, systems, processes, policies, and so forth. And I said, okay, I'll do that, and I'm happy to do that, but tell me more about your group. They said, well, we have two factions. We've got the old group and the newer group, and the old group doesn't want to change anything. They don't want to work hard. And the new group wants to explore all the possibilities and transform our world. And I said, okay. They said, by the way, we have, and they handed me a ring binder, a folder like this of the previous 2 years, 2 years previous, they had done a strategic planning session, and it was a red ring binder. And I looked through it, and it was fine. They didn't need a new one. That plan would work. Just change the dates and the names. And they said, no, we need you to bring these two groups together. So I went to this meeting. And now remember, these are people that deal with, they're optometrists, so they're eyeglasses people. And I went into the room and went through the usual formalities. And then I said, okay, let me pose a question. Why did you choose optometry? Dead silence. And I said, anyone? Nothing. So finally, I let the silence become very uncomfortable for them. So I just stood there and looked at them with a neutral face. And one guy said, look, Jim, we hired you to do strategic planning. He said, so just get on with it. And I said, well, this is the first step. And he said, we all know why we got in the business. And I said, well, then say it. He said, no, just go on and do the strategic plan. And I said, excuse me. Here's your strategic plan. And I handed him the red binder. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned. And they said, we're not going to pay you. I said, that's okay. I can't do my job if you're not willing to talk about why you do what you do. And so there was another long, uncomfortable pause. And one guy stood up at the table. And, they're seated in a boardroom setup. And he stood up and he said, I got into this field because my grandfather was an optometrist. And I would hear him tell stories about how he'd restored clear vision for people. And it inspired me to be a person like my grandfather. And if you, the rest of you in this room, don't remember why you got into this, then I don't want to be part of this either. So I'm leaving with Jim. Whoa. And then everyone started opening up one at a time. And then finally, that one guy that had given me so much grief, he also shared his reasons. And we were able to shift from their be strong and be a machine mindset to talk about what matters and why it's important in the world and how it touched you. And that's a transitional moment. So thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to bring Professor von Drager. He's been saying a few things. Are you there?
Yes, he's had some fabulous perspectives.
I would like to say, Professor is a soldier. Where are you?
He's been here only a few seconds ago.
Drager. Aaron von Drager. Where are you?
So one of the truths that we haven't spoken about in great depth over the course of this wonderful, wonderful process is that there's a very powerful place for the soldier spirit. I remember at one stage someone saying that if I didn't have the courage to show up and to put the truth or whatever I believed on out there on the line, then what kind of strength of truth was I holding for?
You can basically analyze it.
You can be very intellectual about it. I can use strong words.
We can determine what is truth. We can do all the things. We can go through the journey. It's like I went through a journey and I discovered something, or whatever. It was a golden door. That's a symbolism.
Yeah.
But the door could remain shut.
Yeah.
And I would never turn the knob.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think that is the most difficult part.
Yeah.
For so many of us. Because you turn the knob and you go the other side, it means that you have to think differently, you have to act differently. It could be isolated. It could be a very lonely path. You could be mocked at. Life could be difficult.
Something that is a story that is put out in the world. That if you walk through the door, you could be mocked at, you could be alone, and all this one. And yet, here's the fascinating and funny thing in that. You choosing up to do, it could be. But then again, you could stay, the other story could be, well, you could stay where you are in bitter twistedness and frustration and anger and loss of self and diminishment. also possible. I mean, also possible. And yet in the choosing to show up and the different sorts of lenses that the different people who've been here and the different truths that the authors put forward in their books, in their poetry, in their essays, and that each of the different speakers has brought forward, what we actually have found is a collection of other people, and that we're not alone, and that there is this global footprint of people.
So, perception. How do you perceive this golden door to be? Is it going to be a difficult path, or it could be a beautiful journey? So it's how we perceive things. I mean, when I took this path, opening that door, anybody else, people have said to me, why do you even bother? It's too difficult. It's such a painful process. But my perception is different. Mm-hmm. Perception is everything.
Yeah.
Sadasivan, the former member of parliament who was in our panel, he believes in this statement, perception is truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he believes, yes.
Okay, come on, Professor.
Professor, now you want to come.
Good on you. Good on you.
You're supposed to be a soldier.
But
so I'm adding you. No, you got to make it, add a little spice to this. Come on.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things, in some of the conversations, there's been various metaphors in it. I remember when someone sat down and took me through the difference of the metaphor that comes from, if we look at a sword of truth a la Excalibur, and what if we look at the sword of truth as of Archangel Michael?
I can't add Ariane.
Should be able to, because we've got 9 spots. So, Ariane, if you click the little box at the top that says "Aha," there you are. You're going to appear. He's going to appear. I can feel it.
Okay.
And that someone said to me, they said, like, really get a sense of those two swords, and it's the same sword of truth.
Okay. Oh, you talked about the sword of the Excalibur. Is it Andrew? You talked about that?
No, Andrew, it's part of his.
You know how that came about, right? And did you tell them?
Oh, you can remind me, because I think there's several versions of how that came about for us. So I think, were you on part of that whole thing with Excalibur?
I was doing my meditations, and I messaged you that I had a vision of a sword in the stone.
Right.
And then you said, all right, I'm going to create a workshop based on that theme.
And
Okay.
I must have forgotten about it, because what happened was that in the Philippines, we were working a bunch of millennials. And this thought came. Everyone has a sword in the stone. So we just need to get them to visualize it and then pull it out. And each person had on their sword their life purpose written on it.
Oh, wow.
I tell you, the volume in terms of the energy that was unleashed when they picked up their sword was unbelievable. It was just, it was a connection with something. And I'm encouraged because it's a bunch of millennials, right? That was actually, they're about to do something with their lives. So, there is a connection. I was going to say, one of the things that Aristotle, one of the authors from many years ago, said, he said, if you want to be brave, you just need to do brave things. Or, if you want to be just, do just things. Be temperate, do temperate things. And really what he was saying is that, this idea of being a soldier, you're not doing, it's nothing that's lacking in you. It's already in you. You just got to activate it and do it. But when you do it, you become it. And that kind of makes sense. So when we're saying, well, I just lack the courage. No, you don't. You just haven't stepped into the courage that's already in you. And by doing it, it's within your grasp, right? Within all our grasp to do all those things. It's just that, so it's a funny quote that I remember, which is Shakespeare said, to be or not to be, that's the question. And then Jean-Paul Sartre turned it on his head and said, no, to do is to be. But I think the person that got it really right was Sinatra. He just said, "Doobie-doobie-doo." That would be that is how we go about actually living our lives. Just doobie-doobie.
Hello.
Yes.
Aaron von Dreger, Frederick. From, I hope I'm pronounced right, Cairns or
Hi.
Cairns, Australia?
Cairns. You have to say it with a really slant.
Cairns.
Maybe it works better this way. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
We would like to hear a few words from you. Speak.
You're here.
I can't. That's the problem. My Wi-Fi.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We can hear you.
Are you from Cannes on the Gold Coast?
Yes, you.
Yeah.
Can you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Proceed. You're good. Oh God.
Hold up your thumbs if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I disappear again, what I wanted to say is, yes, I know you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
Okay, never mind.
What I wanted to say, how much I enjoy Jim. I enjoy Jim because he's, for me, the architect, really the folksy, down to earth, very effective American. Boy, Jim, I really miss the American presence here in Australia. It's lovely to be in Australia, and I really like it here. And if you haven't been here yet, Jim, then by all means come over sometime. But I do miss sometimes that uniquely American presence which you have.
Thank you.
Look, I'm going to disappear. I can't hear you guys. So just carry on. My Wi-Fi speed shows quite high, Tahira. It shows that I'm at download and 25 upload, but there is no of my system here.
It's your computer.
So
never mind. All right.
I'll disappear again. But keep going with your conversation. I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. Thank you.
However, wonderful to hear his voice.
Yeah.
We had a very interesting panel on the first day, VIP panel. So very people from Professor Arun is from a different kind of world that he's dealing with. There's a dark, very dark part of this world. They call it the what do you call that? Shadow government, deep state. All that. He wants them gone, and he's very clear about that. And then we had Viswa, who is like a diplomat. He wants mediation. So this is, we all have different points of view. So who else wants to make their statement, share something from the audience? Yes. Joanne, did you manage to share what you want to say? We cut you off, did we? No?
No. I was enjoying being in observation mode and having fun, being able to chit chat away. I mean, and delightful to be asked up.
This is the end of the second day, because tomorrow, like I said, is just presentations from the shortlisted participants. So this is like relaxation time. This is relaxation time. This is time to voice out a little bit. Our discussion is a little philosophical, I think, but it's all right.
It's also very practical, because philosophical discussions solve more problems than other types of discussions do. There's just much more to it.
Yeah.
It transcends the context.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Jim, it's been absolutely wonderful to actually meet you in person. I missed you at APS when you were here last year. I'd made a promise to head home to see my family for Christmas, and I was flying out the night before. And believe you me, people were giving me a very heavy guilt complex for missing the opportunity to meet you. So it's absolutely gorgeous to have this far deeper opportunity to connect and get to know and hear your voice and wisdom. And thank you for being a light on this world for the time you have and for the many years you have to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you.
Okay, so anyone else wants to come up? Because we'll be closing soon, about 10, 20 minutes. See you, Professor. Because there we go. Jeremy. All right. Jeremy Montero, the jazz musician and author. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to have you.
Hi, everyone. Jim, I really enjoyed not just your speaking, but also your wonderful musicianship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I sent you a
I'm
private.
never.
I sent you a. Yeah, great. Why not?
Always have it here.
I sent you a private message to ask you to check out my music on Spotify, but I don't think you saw it. But I wanted to ask this because for a long time, people talk about speaking my truth. This is the truth and my truth or your truth.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how do we deal with people talking about their truths, and how do we find? I mean, I don't think there's a singular truth, right? The truth is probably an amalgamation of reality and perception, but how? So two little questions actually. How do we deal with when people talk about my truth and your truth, and it's very diverse? That's number one. And number two, I like to also ask about. I always feel there is the truth, that one can feel a resonance when the truth is being spoken.
Okay, why don't each person and Jamie, myself, think about what you do. Where's an echo? Is there an echo going on?
Yeah, I hear the echo.
It's because, Jeremy, when you came on, suddenly it happened.
Yeah, my mic is off now, so the echo should be gone after.
Oh, it's gone.
I'm going to switch it off now.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Okay. So each of us can give our point of view. Andrew, you want to say something? Share?
So the question about objective truth, and I don't know how. Oops, am I here? Okay. I personally don't know how truth can be anything other than subjective. Let me just explain what I mean. If you think about a sunset, for example, there's been sunsets for billions and billions of years, but until someone actually notices a sunset, it's not a sunset in those terms, right? You call it sun. It's just, you know, the Earth circling around the sun and causes certain lights and things that actually happen. So it's something that happens basically when truth is always truth. There's objective truth of the sun setting, if you like, in those terms. But until it's perceived, it's not truth, right? So I think when we talk about objective truth, I think what we're saying is that there is, when people encounter truth, like love, for example, is an objective truth, I think, as is something like fear is an objective truth, is because it's how human beings respond to something. It could just be our biological wiring. I believe it's more than that, but it's just the way that we are. I mean, as Jim said so eloquently, it's about how even the virus, you know, wants to flourish. It's that basic way that we do things. So, and I think what happens is that this is the theme throughout this conference. Really, objective truth is truth that's lived out. I think that's the only way that you can describe what objective truth is. A teenager once said, you know, you sing about love, you talk about love, but I want to see love with skin on it. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the only truth that there is. You are truth. Your music is truth. You live out your truth. And when you do that, it touches our lives, and that it makes a difference. I think that's how we know it's objective, because we've experienced it.
I would completely agree with Andrew. Live out our truths with love. It's based on love. It's still the foundation. Why do you play jazz, Jeremy? It's the love burning in within you for that. There's something pouring out of you, and that is love, right? That is your truth. And truth is elevating. Just as love is.
You know, I'm looking at the Webster's definition of truth, the body of real things, events and facts, actuality, the state of being the case, a transcendent, fundamental, or spiritual reality. That seems to be where many of our comments have been. A judgment, proposition, or idea that is true or accepted as true. And then further down, sincerity in action, character, and utterance. That's where integrity comes in.
Integrity,
yeah. And interestingly, definition of truth number 4, God. Isn't that interesting?
God, love is
I haven't noticed that before.
God is love.
Yeah, but I mean, in the dictionary definition, it's there.
Which
I would expect that.
Webster Dictionary. Wow.
Yeah, Merriam-Webster dictionary, and integrity has a shorter list of definitions. Firm adherence to a code of especially moral or artistic values, incorruptibility, an unimpaired condition of soundness. And this is the one that I've usually used for integrity, the quality or state of being complete and undivided. In other words, no part of you or it contradicts the other parts. It's integral.
Integral. Yet it could be different. So
I mean, you know, a lot of truth has been spoken about in this conference, and you know, because I think we are like-minded beings who are attending the conference, and so we all can feel the resonance of the truth, because no matter what we discuss or talk about, even if our views are divergent, we can all feel that truth has been spoken. But sometimes it's really hard, right? Because you have one army, for example, going up against another army, and you know, the general in one army and the general in the other army kisses his wife and kids and goes to war, and both sides are praying to God for victory, and both sides are feeling that they are doing the right cause. So when we have a situation like this, when we're all like-minded, you know, there's no opposing views, and all the views actually add to building our own consciousness. But my difficulty is understanding when both sides are divergent, but they believe in what their cause as being the complete truth. And here's the difficulty that sometimes I feel that this is what causes all the wars in the world, because you have even like opposing political parties who actually believe that they are speaking and believing the truth, and their followers. But then there's this, as a result of that, you see this clash, and you hope that the supreme truth, if there's such a thing, will transcend all of that. You know.
Remember, Andrew, like you said, your mic is on. Your mic is on again. Okay. And
Sure.
remember I mentioned about self-awareness, group awareness? And that's what you were talking about? What Jeremy just said was self-awareness. This means that they have their own belief system. They feel it's truth.
Yeah.
But then when you go into group awareness, that there is unity.
I mean, we see this, don't we? I mean, I think Dr. King, Martin Luther King, he wrote a book called "To the Sound of a Different Drum Beat." That was his book, and that really struck me, because we can choose to listen to whichever versions of truth we want, but you see people who transcend things, is that because they don't see things simply on a personal level, they do see things at a cohesive group level, and they see beyond that to something much bigger. And their behavior is shaped by that belief. That's what they see. The problem is that our many people's view is just too myopic, it's too narrow-minded, it's too restricted. It comes to the level of personal hurts and pains. So I only see the world through my pain. Of course, there are many ways of seeing the world. You choose to see the world through your pain. And so then how can I help you? Unless I can help you stand up on a higher balcony and you can maybe see the pain of someone else, or see the beauty that's in the world, or see the cycle of life and death that's been going on through the ages of time, and understand where you are in that whole stream of life. But when you see it in that perspective, everything changes. Everything is different. Yeah.
So it doesn't become just opinion.
No.
See, what you're stating, Jeremy, it sounds like opinion. It's not.
Yeah, and the heart of it, I think, was said many years ago in the Bible, actually, because Jesus used the word, he says, repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. But the word repent is nothing to do with sin. It just means, is the word metanoia, which in Greek just means see differently. That's it. In the original, there's no mention about sin or whatever. You just need to see differently, because if you see differently, you will behave differently. I once was blind, but now I see. So there is something, and I mean, Americans, Amazing Grace is the anthem everybody sings. And it's about a slave owner who became someone who fought for the abolition of slavery. So something changed in John Newton's view of the world that caused him to be fundamentally different. So I think the hope is change is possible. Change in the way we see the world is possible. But it's
Andrew, you just caused a major aha for me on the word repent. Pent, like in Spanish, pensamiento means thinking, right? And if you think repent as rethink, if you look at it that way, you achieve metanoia, a much higher level of knowing and understanding. Wow. So to repent is to fundamentally change your thinking so that you're following a new light or a new path or whatever, behaving in a different vibration, as you said earlier, Tahira. Wow. Thanks for that.
It's a mind shift. It's a mind shift. Each time you repent, you shift.
Mm-hmm.
Each time you repent, you shift.
Yeah, because repent is seen popularly as simply apologizing and paying your dues for your bad behavior, and going away from bad behavior to good behavior. And I think you're right that that's too simplistic.
It is, yeah. All right. So anyone else before we close off? It is long.
Close off. No, don't leave.
Well, you want to stay on? We've been talking for a while,
Yeah.
Good morning, where you are. Good morning.
Music is love and love is music. If you know what I mean.
Can you please play us a song?
People who believe in music are the happiest people I've ever seen. So clap your hands and stomp your feet and shake your tambourine. Lift your voices to the sky. Hey, tell me what you see. I believe in music. I believe in love. I believe in music. I believe in truth and love.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Rob was asking for a sing-along. So anyway.
Thanks.
Someone's asking what's the next session. Next session is by Eliani tomorrow. It's by the participants who were shortlisted. And it's going to be very early morning, but he's in the US, 8 a.m. if you want to attend it. So check out the schedule. We're done with the workshops today and panel. By the way, there's a very interesting panel tomorrow. Please, Jim, do come for. Oh, you can't because it's 3 a.m. for you. Forget it. Don't come. It's too much for you. And,
Quick request. If there's a way to save our chat from this, it would be very good to do so because we have wonderful comments in there.
Saved. Not to worry. So tomorrow we have a panel with Sasha Stone, a very famous truth advocate, and the bishop also, and another person, Joanne Alexander, who's a mystic healer. Welcome to the UK. I don't know whether you know her, Andrew. All right, so they'll be on at 4 p.m. and otherwise we have the participants' presentations. Yes, Professor loves Sasha. Absolutely love. I know he's a soldier like you. Soldier against the darkness. Absolutely. Okay. Jeremy is saying, please come to my talk. What time is your talk? 11:40 a.m. Singapore time. His journalist is going to be there. All right, we will listen in. And Rob is saying, thanks, Tahira. I'm preparing for a filming. Okay, go ahead. All right, Rob. And so I'm tired out.
I'll bet you are. Well, I want to.
Okay, I have an announcement.
Once again, express my deep gratitude for the privilege of being involved in this. This is fabulous. I'm a better person because I participated in this, and I appreciate very much all the wonderful comments and feedback and the guidance from you, Tahira, and from Andrew and from the others. So thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, and thank you to the audience and everyone involved and everyone who supported and who assisted the committee. Rob, Joanne, Tatania, Bogdan. I don't know, there's so many involved, but everyone. Tomorrow we're going to, okay, prophetess. Okay. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Check out the schedule. Tomorrow there are a lot of slots. Don't torture yourself by attending all of them, because I think there are about 18 or is it 15 talks by each of the participants. Yes, 15 short ones. All they're revealing their deeper truths. Thank you, Roshani. Roshani is saying, please come for my talk. Okay. We will, 6:40 p.m. So they're advertising now. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. You are each a golden door to others. And I was just saying this to someone else, that I was thinking that 2021, hopefully this virus situation is under control, that golden door should be, the next one should be in the US. I feel. I think so. I think it should be in the US. At first I thought maybe Europe at first, but I think the United States is critical. Andrew has a lot to say about that, but just make it one liner, because we got 9 minutes before we close off.
Wow. The US is going to go through an existential crisis at the moment.
I know.
It's been going for a while, and there needs to be a different conversation in the USA. And whatever we can do to help people construct the world differently in the US, please help. Because I mean, it's the land where I learned my English, believe it or not, many years ago. But it's just situation is serious. So I think, and it's important that people just pay attention to that. So,
okay, we will see what happens. The next few months are going to be critical. Thank you, everyone. Bye, Jeremy. Bye, Roshani, Terry, Lyndon.
Bye-bye.
Everyone. Bye. See you tomorrow. See you, Rob. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.